And we welcome you into the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show on a Tuesday afternoon here in the Valley of Happiness. And
Very
here,
happy
Goon, good news. As expected, as predicted, and once again, another of our predictions right spot on. It's the history and story of this show. We make a prediction, voila, it comes true.
Geniuses.
And absolutely correct. But yes, Beaver Stadium will be full capacity, all tailgating, everything else, a full go for the fall. As is, by the way, all of the athletic venues at Penn State, including all of the indoor ones. So that means, the basketball at the Bryce Jordan Center, hockey at Pagola, wrestling and women's volleyball at Rec Hall, all of it, full capacity, full go, back to business as usual, although, perhaps a little more costly than previously anticipated. But listen, everything is full go. And again, as we've been talking about, as it should be, given what we now have, if you have the ability to get the vaccine and want the vaccine, you certainly are going to be able to. I mean, you're able to now, and certainly can get that taken care of before football season. And as we've said, there may be people for a wide variety of reasons who still aren't comfortable in those settings. Then stay at home and watch the great seat from your living room, and that's perfectly fine as well. But again, I
heard some pretty good rationale this weekend for it.
Yep.
I was away the weekend with family and all, and some people are against it. And they said, well, if I get sick, if you're vaccinated, you should be okay. And I said, yes, we are. Me and my wife are. And they said, well, okay, well, if we don't get vaccinated and we get sick, then call us dumb people. Then we're idiots.
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, I have no argument with you there. I mean, if that's your decision, but are they? I didn't read into the article. Did they say if you're not vaccinated, you must still wear a mask in the stadium?
They are. I don't think it's required. I forget the exact wording. I'll get it. But yes, they are asking you to wear masks in the venue if you are not vaccinated.
When you're sitting.
Correct.
When you're not sitting, when you're up and about. When you're sitting, you're fine.
Correct.
Which is
so
your whole 3
again,
centimeters from somebody.
If you're not vaccinated, again, there are people that have medical reasons that they can't or shouldn't get vaccinated, and again, then at some point it becomes up to you. I know it's this crazy concept, individual rights. Once upon a time in this country. You young kids can read about it. It's actually what the country was founded on. Well, yeah.
No, actually you can't.
Social media. You're right. Anyway,
that's a whole other show.
Yes,
that's a whole other show.
But listen, you do get to make the choices for yourself. I do think it is going to be interesting. I was listening to some discussion on Sports Talk earlier today with the unruly fans at NBA games, and a couple of things. One, they're making it sound like this is an epidemic, and everywhere you turn. I think we've had, is it 3 or 4 incidents? It's still, we're talking about, if you're going by percentage, and everything now is percentages, right? Ever since the virus has hit, everything is broken down to percentage. We're talking about a very minuscule percentage of the fans. And I'm listening to the conversation, and it's making it sound like it's just an outbreak. And, well, to some extent, this is what you have. This is the host I was listening to. To some extent, this is what you have to expect coming off of a year, in which you were shut down. And I'm like, what are you talking about?
It's all pent-up energy that the people are coming back to games.
Yes, you do not have to expect fans running onto the court during the game. That's absurd to me. Like, even and again, first of all, we have had this behavior long before that, right? This isn't like it's brand new. And they're making it sound, again, I think it's 3 or 4 incidents here. They're making this sound like it's just widespread, rampant. Every time you go to a game, this is what's happening. And that's not the case. And we've always had, from the time sports, have have occurred at this level. We've had folks who, for a wide variety of reasons, usually alcohol is at least involved in those reasons, but they're trying to get their 15 minutes of fame, run out on the field or onto the court, and hey, look at me, I'm this big of an idiot just to get on TV and all of that. This isn't new, and I'm just not buying that this is COVID related. I just don't buy it at all. And again, that's just my opinion. This was somebody else's opinion.
Because the talking heads need to talk about something because it's the slow time of year right now. So they're going to say, "Oh, the fans are unruly. Why is this?" And the guys are complaining because there's popcorn thrown last week in Philadelphia. I think it's the Celtics. Their fans were aggressive and threw stuff at Kyrie Irving the other day, but they seem to forget that Kyrie went onto the court and was kicking the Boston Celtics logo. So you're just disrespecting. But it was okay when T.O. got beat up when he went up and stood on the Cowboys logo, and there was a fight in that game. Because it's a fan doing that. I mean, yeah, that's a little. I mean, you don't fanatic can't spell fanatic without the word fan.
Yep.
I mean, there's crazy people out there, and he's going to do something that's disrespectful and makes that person that mad. I can understand that, I guess, but the fact that they don't talk about that and they're just talking about how unruly their fans are and how they've become and. Saint LeBron coming out and he has to have a say about everything and about Kyrie Irving being disrespected and attacked, and they should be able to do this or should be able to do that, and whatever.
That being said, I am all for making an example of these knuckleheads
Absolutely.
and making sure this doesn't become the widespread epidemic that it is being portrayed as, because there needs to be very real consequences and significant consequences for this type of behavior. You can't, again, there is a line that you can't cross.
Yes,
as
I completely agree.
And we may differ on where that line is. Different people may draw that line at different places. But where we all can agree, right, is when you are interrupting physically the play of the game or the space of the individual, right? We can discuss and we can talk about, the verbal component to it. And again, we may disagree. Different people will draw that line at different places. But as soon as it becomes a physical altercation in any way, that includes throwing things onto the court or at an individual, then it's criminal activity and needs to be treated as such. And needs to be dealt with in the harshest of terms, again, in large part to try to prevent, no matter how drunk you are, something goes off in the back of your brain. I don't want to spend a couple of weeks in jail over
that $10,000 fine is pretty daunting.
Perhaps I'll just
I said it last week.
Go home and sober up.
I said it last week when we were watching the PGA and people were chasing Mickelson and Koepka up to 18. I said I just feared a Monica Seles type incident that very easily could have happened.
Yeah.
I mean, it could very easily happen in an NBA game with an idiot running onto the court. I mean, what's to stop him from packing something or doing something to some of these players? I mean, It's scary.
It is.
I mean, the verbal abuse, the yelling, the screaming, that's fine. Whatever. These guys are paid a lot of money. They got to be able to take that, I guess. It's stupid in my opinion, but hey, if people are going to do that, that's fine. You want to make a home field advantage or a home court advantage because you're an idiot fan, that's fine. But once you cross the line and you're literally throwing stuff at people, running onto the court, the gloves are off. I mean, go away. You need to be, you're exactly right, punished. Like, people need to think, oh, God, I'm really hammered last night. I ran on the court last night. Well, guess what? I got 2-year prison sentence and 2 years probation. Going to lose my job, and I got $15,000 fine. I mean, why can't they do that? Just put that on the back of the ticket. Anybody who enters, throws anything in the court, caught in this, and that will be, sued or prosecuted to the highest extent of the law. I mean, it's just stupid what is going on right now. And then the talking heads online with social media saying that it's COVID related because Johnny idiot boy from South Boston, was pent up in his home for a year and a half. So now he's allowed to go to the Boston Celtics arena and do whatever he says or do whatever he wants running on the court and all. I mean, that's just a stupid take in my opinion. But that's what they want. They want people talking about that.
Yep.
We've said before, I think the athletes aren't as mentally tough as they used to be, that they let these fans affect them and this and that. But once you cross the line, between just yelling and screaming and being a crazy fan to actually to actually physically throwing something at them, that's the line has been crossed then. So, I mean, the Philadelphia guy throwing popcorn all over Westbrook last week, stupid, but that crossed the line. You threw an object at somebody, that guy should be persecuted.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's the way it should be, and then people will learn real freaking fast, okay, we don't do that.
Yeah. Yeah, and as they should. We've been talking about how things are quickly changing in college athletics. Well, across the board, but in college athletics, right from the images and likenesses now of athletes being able to be used to the transfer portal. I mean, things are changing rapid fire, and one of the things that is changing, this. Naomi Osaka story is captured my attention for a couple of reasons. One is and if you don't know the story, Naomi Osaka withdrew from the French Open after refusing to do media interviews, and tennis telling her that those that govern tennis, the sport itself didn't actually, it can't talk, it's a sport. Those that govern the sport were threatening sanctions, and she withdrew, saying that she's
suffered from mental
health issues and just didn't want to deal with the added pressures that come with the media interviews with the French Open. And there's lots of discussion, and we can get into some of that on all sides from this. But one of the things that is changing rapidly in sports in general is that there was a time, and it wasn't that long ago, it was when a young Ironhead was cutting his teeth in the business of broadcasting. And one of the things that I always argued was that, listen, the whether you, the athlete, or the coach, like the media or not, you do have an obligation to meet with the media, because that is your conduit to the fans, right? The fans get to hear what you have to say
customers
through your comments before, in some cases, during and after the games. That has changed over the years because of social media, and so many of these athletes, have their own accounts, and so they can communicate directly to the fans, and they don't need the media. The media, and it pains me to say this, but we're not nearly as important. Perhaps we never were, but not nearly as important as we once, I think, fancied ourselves. In terms of, hey, if you want to get the message out to the fans, you need to deal with us. No, they don't. Coaches and athletes don't have to deal with the media any longer to get a message out to the fans. They can do it, again, directly and instantly through their social media accounts. And, so to that end, I don't know that the obligation is as great in my mind as it once was for folks to uphold their media responsibilities. I still think it is important. I still think there is some value to it, but it's not nearly what it once was. And with this, I think this is something else that is going to evolve quickly here, where I think press conferences are still going to be a part of sports, but I think we're going to quickly move to the mandatory component of it not being there. And there are going to be people that know how to get their message out without going through the media and being able to just sidetrack that altogether. There will be others that will absolutely, hey, if you're not going to do it, I, as Coach B in the equation, if Coach A isn't going to talk, by God, I'll fill that void with all of the stuff that you want, kids. Let me be the person that reaps the benefits of having all of my comments out there 24/7 running in the media, because person A won't talk to the media. But I do think we're going to see very quickly here some things change in terms of the mandatory aspect of media interaction with coaches and athletes.
I think that it'll be contractually obligated to do that, because I'm sure as a player in the French Open, you must be obligated to talk to the media.
Right now, that's true. I don't think that's going to be the case moving forward.
Well, this is another case of let's just cater to the mentally soft athletes who can't handle tough questions that they need to handle on their own. I mean, I've already mentioned LeBron one time today, but I mean, a guy like that who, has all the media in the world, and he has to say about something, about everything, about the Westbrook thing, the Kyrie, everything. He has his 2 cents to say. Oh, we should do this, we should do that, and then, this woman who backed out of the French Open because she's mentally distress, and then it's a completely understandable thing if you're not there mentally and you're suffering from anxiety. I get it, but if that's going to affect you to the point where you can't play a tennis match because you're so worried about the media, then you need a lot more help than that. But I mean, I go back to think it like this, Ironhead. Like back when I played, like the bowl system used to say, it was always a thing where you wore the bowl patch on your jersey. You know what I mean? And as a Penn State player, we always said, no, we're Penn State. We don't do that. But then all of a sudden they started putting the Penn State rule into these contracts with the universities. And I don't know when it started. It may have started after I left, because I don't remember wearing one. I don't ever remember wearing one. I think that maybe the Texas game in '96, that BCS game, that they wore a sticker.
Yep.
But it was called the Penn State thing at the bottom of the contract. It says if you don't wear it, the university will be fined $5 million or something like that. So, I mean, they're going to put clauses in those contracts because the media deserves to talk to these people. If you're playing in their tournament, that's one of their added things to cover their event, in my opinion. So you're going to go to the Masters and you're going to say, well, we're not allowed to talk to the media now. We're not talking to the media. And you're going to be fined for it. But they make you do it because if you're going to play in their tournament, I think you should be obligated to do that. I mean, I understand what you're saying, that if players want to get the word out, they're going to do it anyway. The managers can do it anyway, but it's just like, again, we're just catering to the athletes and let them do what they want. They're going to cry about it. So, let's change the whole platform now because the athletes are worried. They're crying about it. They don't want to do it. They want to do it on their own terms. I mean, at least when you're, if somebody's monitoring you when you're at a press conference and stuff like that, because players, I mean, we've seen guys get in so much trouble with social media outbursts and stuff like that. Yeah. The Kevin Durant thing was just insane a couple months ago, and you haven't heard anything about it, have you?
No. No, not to any degree that's damaging to his long-term sustainability.
And I know this goes back to we're going to wrap it around the whole NIL thing, which we talked about, the transfer portal, the players, getting out name and image likenesses and stuff like that. It just seems we are just catering to the athletes too damn much, in my opinion, that it's going to get out of control. If they're going to, you can't ask an 18 to 22-year-old kid to control the narrative of such a big billion-dollar operation. And that's what's going on. I mean, as well as I do, the reason why it's happening is because the NCAA will agree to anything right now to keep their cash cow alive. I mean, anything that upsets the players or colleges or conferences, and they threaten to leave, the NCAA is going to say, "Okay, we're sorry. Do whatever you want, please. Don't let us. We still need to make $17 billion a year." And then they're going to just kowtow and cater to the athletes and to the universities and the conferences to keep their cash cow going. That's how I feel. I mean, if they're allowing all this stuff, and you know as well as I do, we talk about it constantly, how I don't trust the NCAA. I don't like the NCAA. They're doing anything in their power right now to try to control some kind of the narrative and keep their money.
It is amusing that in an attempt to remain relevant, all of their rules have become irrelevant. and that's the nature of the
we should put that on our show as our logo here. In a quest to stay relevant, they become irrelevant. Very nice. That's a tattoo.
But it's absolutely the case right now with the NCAA, and you're absolutely right. I mean, it's a clear last ditch effort to try to hold on to any semblance of at least perceived power that it can by trying to get out in front of something that they've been so far behind on for decades that it's it's beyond laughable that they're trying to take a leadership role now in that regard.
My personal opinion is that that's the road we're going down with the NIL, the name and image likeness thing. We're literally just setting up the minor league system, in my opinion, and there's going to be no reason to have universities do this anymore. Why would a university start spending this much more money to try and maintain when they can just go out and say, okay, well, the television contracts will be enough money, and then the universities who actually want to maintain and stay in the NCAA can go with the Ivy League approach, and that's no scholarships. Or I've often said, if you are going to pay players, then pay them, and they can afford their own scholarship. Then, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, if that's the way they want to go and keep it going. I mean, you go back to, remember UNLV in the early '90s with what was the point guard name? Greg Anthony, I believe his name was. He had 3 companies on the side that he paid for his own education because he was making money selling apparel. He was making UNLV T-shirts versus Duke and this and that. He had a company that was producing these things. He was a professional athlete. He paid for his education, though. He was not a scholarship player at UNLV. Kyler Murray, when he took the $7 million bonus from the Oakland A's, he had to pay for his education in Oklahoma, I believe. If I recall correctly, as you take money as a professional athlete, then you're no longer an amateur in the NCAA, and you go to a different sport, you're still paying for you have to come out of pocket for it. That's my understanding of the whole thing. So, that's a month-long show there for us.
There's a lot, and I just unpack there. But again, it's I think things are going to continue to change very quickly here. For better or worse, it's it's coming.
The breakup of the NCAA, you think?
Well, significant changes. And again, across the board, I think. I think we're going to continue to see, and again, whether you think it's the right thing or not, I think you're going to see more and more control across the board going to athletes, and they're going to have more and more control of their careers and destiny and choices. And again, I think we'll see. I don't know if at some point it gets yanked back in the other direction, as you said. I mean, right now there's contractual obligations and there are financial repercussions if you're not meeting those demands. But again, there's a lot more understanding of mental health issues now. There's a greater understanding of physical health issues, and and I think more. I think athletes are becoming savvier, as are their agents, in understanding. Listen, there is a limited time. Yeah, there's all kinds of crazy money involved here, but it's crazy money for a short period of time. Compared with the so-called average worker's working career and ability to earn an income in whatever the profession is that they've chosen. So I don't know. We'll see. I think there's a lot more changes that are coming quickly. And again, I'm not sure we're even foreseeing some of them. I just think with the technology going the way it is, with the athletes feeling the power that the balance, shifting quickly in their favor. I mean, I think they're going to continue to capitalize on that. And I just think the societal momentum right now is in favor of these significant changes. And again, I'm not even sure we're addressing what some of those changes are going to be. I just think, 10 years from now, college athletics and athletics in general, professional athletics as well, it's going to have just a much different look and a much different feel to it from what we are seeing now. And listen, we've seen, there's right, there's a lot of things that are unrecognizable now from 20 years ago. I just think you're going to continue to see those changes. I think it's just going to go at relatively speaking, warp speed from what we've seen in the previous 2 or 3 decades.
You said it. You said that there's much more awareness of mental health and stuff like that, and I can sit there and be Mr. Tommy Tough Guy. I played 30 years ago. I'm this much tougher than you and this and that. I'm not like that at all. But I will say that the athletes have been, from a young age, they have been taught to talk about stuff like that, whereas we were just told, shut your mouth, let's go, you're allowed to hit somebody. And I think that mental health it's a whole different world than it was 30 years ago when it comes to disorders, and mental health awareness is so much more out in the open right now, and it's not looked down upon by guys. At least I don't think so. I mean, I haven't been in the locker room in a long time, but I just feel like guys talk about it a lot more openly than guys even our age would have.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing, but where we're going to be in 10 years or 5 years, 1 year, who the hell knows? But we always go back to, I just am petrified of who is going to be in charge of this whole situation. I mean, what has the NCAA ever done right? And they're going to try and control this narrative. I mean,
there must be some things.
They created the NCAA basketball tournament and turned it into an $8 billion operation. That's a fantastic thing. They're taking their $4 billion cut and they're paying everybody else. So, hey, you did a great job. So, but this is what I'm so petrified of what can come out of all of this right now. And that is that, listen, I'm 48 years old. I'm a hell of an immature 48 years old. So I can just imagine what 18 to 22-year-old Goon would have been doing. I know what I was doing then. Yeah. And then now you're going to give me control of, and then, you're asking for just trouble, in my opinion. I mean, how many guys have you talked to that we've talked to, you and I have talked about? My God almighty, if there were cell phones back when we were in college, we wouldn't.
Well, that's another thing. I was listening to Steve Jones on the way in here, and he was actually talking about something. And this is when we talk about, again, ongoing changes. We during the last year, to get into the sporting events, those in the media, we've been using a QR code and you have to fill out fairly lengthy questionnaire regarding primarily the virus and everything, but you would have to fill it out to get into any of the Penn State venues. And I think this was not unique in any way to Penn State. This is just something that was being done. And Steve was talking about, I never thought I'd be using my phone to get into a sporting event. But he brought up a point that I've been thinking about because we're going this route with everything, right? I have, Kenny Chesney has canceled his concert for the second year in a row. So they're still carrying over. So, we're hoping to go next year. But one of the things, and listen, I'm, the old fogey that still likes to actually read a newspaper by opening the newspaper. I still don't like reading the stuff online as much as I do having the newspaper in hand and being able to
get home delivery
and look at it.
You get home delivery?
Well, no, because it's not. If it was worth getting, I absolutely would. But one of the reasons it's not worth getting is, again, society has moved quickly down this path, and it's not necessarily anybody's fault, but you're not getting the type of journalism that you once did in terms of, hey, let's dig for the breaking story. Let's get a couple of investigative reporters on this. And I think it's why we are seeing, to go off into another tangent, why we're seeing as much
Tangent
corruption
Tuesday,
as we are throughout society is the media that was once upon a time the check and balance is just along for the ride now in the overwhelming majority of cases. I've talked about this before, but there was a time when in State College you had 2 or 3 investigative reporters for the Center Daily Times. You had at least one with each of the TV stations, and usually it was a couple local investigative reporters with the TV stations. You had 3, at one time you actually had 4, but consistently over a long period of time, there were 3 radio stations that all had their own news departments. and all fighting with each other. The Collegian, was in there. You had 10 to 12 reporters minimum working to dig and break stories, right? There's none now. Gary Sinderson with WJAC is the only investigative reporter, the only reporter who's actually doing legwork to not just taking the press releases and, hey, this is what they told us to say, so this is what we're reporting
Just share
today.
this, yeah.
I mean, and it's heartbreaking for those of us that, are in the industry and would like to see jobs for folks in the industry, but also for those of us that would like to see accountability. And there's just none right now. And again, God bless Gary, because he's the only person out there now. But there's only so much, again, one person can do. That the advantage we had for a long period of time was, hey, I might be digging up this story here. You might be digging up that story there. I might, be helping you out. If there might be some crossover. Let's see. Are you hearing what I'm hearing here? Do you know anything more about this? None of that now. And it's it's very difficult to have accountability when there's nobody actually trying to hold people accountable.
With that, before you go to break, I mean, I often think about this. I know I talked to Mark Brennan about it, and I worked with Pat Boland for decades. I often wonder how he would have handled the Sandusky situation.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a guy right there who was in tune to everything, had his ear down to the grindstone, and he was a pretty fascinating guy to hang around with and listen to. And I often wonder, as I said, Mark and I have talked about how he would have, he wouldn't have jumped the gun on 90% of the narrative that was being thrown out there, in my opinion. I think he would have done his own work, and as a respectable media person, he would have not tried to jump the gun on anything, and he would have done the research, and then he'd release it.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Where I was going before the one of the many tangents. Well, no, I got myself on the tangent. Just real quick though, with the going to concerts or sporting events, and hey, we just have the QR code on your phone. Again, one of the reasons I like the newspapers, and I get that you can go back and archive and look at stories online, but it's not the same, right, as having that Sports Illustrated from 1982 with the picture. That's something that it's a keepsake.
Yeah.
And what Steve was talking about today, and I absolutely agree with him, and I don't think there's anything that can be done about it, but you're going to take away the memorabilia, right? One of the things that's cool, and I know Brennan has a huge collection too. I have a huge collection of press credentials from over the years, from high school, PIAA state tournaments and baseball and softball, wrestling, right on down the line to all of the Penn State events, the bowl games and everything, and every
pretty cool
wrestling meet, and it is. It's cool to just have that kind of archive. And same thing with fans. Right, if you go to a Super Bowl, having that Super Bowl ticket is a big deal. That's a cool souvenir, a keepsake. So whether you're a media or a fan, those are cool keepsakes that are not going to be. And same thing with concerts, right? Well, yeah, I can prove to you. I went to the Billy Joel concert at the BJC. Here's my
Did your name on them?
You're going to go back and look at the
would
QR.
You be named on it at all?
On the press,
all that stuff.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
Most of the credentials, at least the majority of them.
That's awesome, though.
Well, it is, and that's going to be gone. And again, do I think this is the end of society as we know it? No, it's another the little kick in the teeth for those of us that have some nostalgia to us.
I mean, you just think about.
That you're not going to be able to, and again, I guess you can go back, you can save the this is the QR code I used to get in. It's not the same, right, as having that ticket that had, the helmets or the.
By the way, once you said QR code, by the way, I had an idea in mind. Not an idea, but I was like a thought in my head, and that is, again, they're going to allow 110,000 people into the stadium and in the press box and all that, yada yada yada. But you got a QR code to get into that press box. You probably got the QR show your vaccination record. I would bet. I would believe.
Yeah.
And I wonder if they're going to do that in the state, because I've often. How do you know if somebody's vaccinated or not. I mean, do you get into the stadium and just say, hey, when you put your ticket through? I don't know. It's just in my head. But go back to what Steve was saying about the whole, having a record of where you've been. I mean, just think of the last couple bowl games that you've been to. I mean, if you went to the Ticket City Bowl, you would have been in the Cotton Bowl. Who knows how long the Cotton Bowl has left? Like physically, I mean, it's dilapidated as hell. And then so my buddy Joe Kogendorfer, guy from up here, lifelong Penn State guy. He has tickets. He's a maniacal Pittsburgh fan, but he has a glass coffee table with every ticket that he's gone to different events and type of thing. So he's been to 2 last ever games for teams, and that's the Pittsburgh Penguins played the Atlanta Thrashers in Atlanta, and it was the last game of the season, I believe, and it was the last time the Atlanta Thrashers were the Atlanta Thrashers. Then they moved on to Winnipeg. Yeah, and then and I had to remind him of this because the day after the Cotton Bowl 2 years ago was the Dallas Cowboys versus the team known as the Washington Redskins. And I said, dude, that's the last time you're ever going to see the Redskins name on any kind of print. And that's the last game ever. So he has this little glass coffee table with all his tickets on that. But you're right. That's going to be going away. Yeah. So I said, you keep on going. You're going to need, end tables, get, glass filled one of those. But I mean, you're exactly right. I mean, he could sit there and say, oh, I was at that game. Look, I was right there. The Orange Bowl 2005. Yeah. 2006, I guess. Sorry. But that's a pretty damn cool thing. It's a great point what you're bringing up with Steve there. I mean, just the sport. I mean, you go back to the Sports Illustrated. I'm sorry, the print media and stuff like that. I mean, how many times I remember pictures from Sports Illustrated, and you don't get them now. You get them on your phone and your Twitter account and Facebook and your Instagram, and then it's gone. There's no record of it. You can't actually have a physical copy of it. So there's stuff where we're going to miss, and then we're moving forward, obviously, as society, there'll be less and less of that stuff. But that's a pretty damn good point, though.
Yeah, and that being said, I mean, again, there's advantages, disadvantages with everything, right? There was a time where you couldn't go back and watch a game from 20 years ago. Well, you can do that now. You can find archived video and audio calls that were not readily available, and you can do that, throughout. With historical events too, right? I mean, there was a time where you couldn't have, unless you were in your history class, you couldn't see the Hindenburg. Well, now anybody can look it up and see the.
I got a great one for you,
footage of that.
I have a fantastic one for you.
Yeah,
and I'm disgusted that I don't know where it got to. That when we took over Damon's, they had a DVD of the '86 Fiesta Bowl. So the 87 Fiesta Bowl versus Miami. Yeah. But it was synced up with George and Fran.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great stuff.
In the transition, it was behind the bar, behind the counter. It may have just gotten chucked. But I remember listening to it. I'm like, no one has ever seen that. Yeah. I mean, that hurt me, man. Think about it. You heard George. They're running that counter play. Yeah. Here comes that counter. Sack, 14-yard loss. George was on that one with Freddie. But no, I mean, God, I just look. I remember that, and something like that. We're talking about this memorabilia, but throwback stuff. But that's a very good point. I mean, that type of stuff, because I remember. I mean, I don't know. It was on. Somebody put on Facebook or on Twitter the other day. Elle McPherson on the cover of Sports Illustrated. I was like, yep, I remember that picture. I remember that Sports Illustrated swimsuit edition. Thank God. I completely remember that. And there's a lot of stuff I remember from Sports Illustrated, but the print media is going to be gone here soon. So,
yep.
Cover picture of Goon with his eyes shut, hugging Brian Milne. I mean, those are a dime a dozen. They're gone. No more. No more.
Still just thinking about the Elle McPherson. Yes. We'll be back with more of the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show. We are at Quaker Steak and Lube. Back after this.
The Spikes start the month of June with a 6:35 game against the Frederick Keys on Tuesday night. Enjoy $2 Tuesday at the ballpark. Not only are walking tacos $2 each, but we've also got $2 hot dogs, $2 popcorn, and $2 16-ounce Miller Lite and Coors Light wraps from 5:30 to 7:30. Plus, outfield bleacher seats are just $2 a piece. It's $2 Tuesday at 6:35 against the Keys. For tickets, call 814-272-1711 or buy and download at statecollegespikes.com.
Lion Country Kia is offering exceptional deals on your new Kia during Kia's Command the Season event.
We have a nice selection on the 2021 Kia Sportage with various options and prices as low as $26,800, saving you $3,000. Or if you demand big power and towing capacity, slip into one of the 2021 Kia Sorrentos available on our lot, starting at $32,680.
Discover why Kia drivers throughout the area come to Lion Country Kia or visit online at lioncountrykia.com.
Quaker Steak and Lube is throwing open the garage doors and setting up the umbrellas. It's patio season. Come enjoy great food, drinks, and fun in the sun. There's always something happening at Quaker Steak and Lube, but we're really amping up our event calendars for our favorite time of year. Visit thelube.com to find out what's happening at your local lube this season. Lunch, happy hour, dinner, or late night, indoors or outside, at Quaker Steak and Lube, you'll always find big flavors, friendly faces, and lots of fun.
Hi, Johnny Broom here. If you're in the market for a new Hyundai or a pre-owned car, truck, van, or SUV, nobody beats a Blaze Alexander deal. But don't take my word for it.
Hey, Goon says tell him Johnny sent you.
Hey, tell him Johnny sent ya.
Tell him Johnny sent you.
Wait, tell him Juan or tell him Johnny sent you?
Tell him Johnny sent you.
Here at Bill Pickles Tap Room, we say,
tell him Johnny sent you.
And remember,
I always remember that Johnny sent us. We
Absolutely.
are back here on a Tuesday, and Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show here at Quaker Steak and Lube. And yeah, we get off on tangents. It's what we do.
Yes, sir. Don't start me on the Philadelphia Phillies.
What can I tell you? Well, I'm not going to get started on the Pittsburgh Pirates. I can tell you that.
I know. We were talking about that
Pirates
before.
aren't going to get started on the Pittsburgh
So
Pirates.
Booch asked me before the show, he's like, hey, man, did you watch that Sixers game last night? I said, Chris, I haven't watched a not even a second of an NBA game in the last 5 years. I mean, not even just, no, I can't do it. I just can't watch it anymore. And he's like, oh, you took that. So you took that misery out of your life, having a fourth team that you're going to live and die with. I mean, it's bad enough with the Eagles, Flyers, and Phillies right now. Why would I want to add the Sixers to that? They could win the NBA title, and it wouldn't bother me none. I just can't. I don't know. I have a good friend of mine who says he was watching the game the other night. He goes, it was unwatchable. I mean, begging for calls, the flopping around. It looked like a soccer game is what he said. And I said, that's what drove me away 5 years ago. I can't. It's no longer basketball out there. It's theatrics.
Yep.
With some hell of a good damn athletes. I mean, let's not get ourselves wrong. I mean, we can sit there and say how good the 80s and 90s teams were, but the guys that are playing in the NBA right now are almost literally probably twice the athletes. The size and the speed of the game right now is just it's ridiculous compared to what it used to be. It's not as physical, so AKA not as tough. But the game has changed. The game has evolved. Have you thought about that? How like football, like basketball, sort of got ruined by the AAU, in my opinion. The super teams that they started making 15 years ago in the AAU, and back even when I was playing, they started with the super teams and having the top 5 guys in the city on one team. Like, what the hell? How are you getting better by playing slap teams if you're like this, the super team out here? And now it's in the NBA with LeBron and Wade and Bosch going to Miami 10 years ago or whatever.
Yep.
Making these super teams, and that's all what it's turning into that. But I mean, I really, 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 really think that football is turning into that with this passing camp, this 7-on-7 tournaments and this and that, and the super groups coming out of different towns and different areas, playing, and they're back together in college, they're reunited. I mean, are you really helping the game by playing 7-on-7s on like this tournament route, or you just some people are making a lot of money off of this. It's just interesting, but the game is being watered down because of that, in my opinion. Go back to the basketball game's not as tough as it used to be, but the football game's not as tough as it used to be. But the guys are bigger, stronger, faster. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah,
that has completely changed. But I don't know, bud.
Yeah, no, the rules are, and again, we'll see. It's just interesting from a historical perspective, just to kind of see how things, I guess, depending on your point of perspective, evolve or devolve in regards to the rules changes as they go along. And listen, I think most people are on board with wanting to make the games safer. There just needs to be some realization that when you are talking about, and I think there need to be some sports where you are still allowed to have physical contact, and if there is physical contact in sports, right, there is a risk, and injuries are going to be part of the equation.
Yeah.
Now, do you want to try to limit it as much as you can? Can you do some things, as they have done with the rule changes and with the equipment advances and all of that to try to make it safer? Sure. But again, we're going to get into, where different people draw the line on what is unnecessarily risky in terms of, with the rules. And we're seeing it with the kickoff. I think it's going to be sooner rather than later that the kickoffs are just altogether out.
I think that should be done.
Football.
Right.
And
how many times do you see guys
do.
just get absolutely lit up running down the field? And
yep.
I remember, they used to have a second team offensive line as the front line guys at Penn State for like my first 2 years here. And I'm like, I'm running back 30 yards as fast as I can. And if there's a guy who's running a 4.5 40 at me with a 55-yard head start, and I'm supposed to be able to block that guy.
Yep.
Oh, well, you're a big guy. You should be able to do that. Okay, well, that guy's running a 4.5, going to beat me to that spot. I'm supposed to stand there, still waiting for this guy to come running at me and then through me. Of course you're going to get run over. They should definitely, get rid of the kickoffs. I don't know why that what's taking so long. Just give the people the ball to the 25-yard line. You could take a lot of injuries out of the game, and then people are going to say, well, you're going to lose that, the kick return, the rush of the kick return, or a dynamic player. Well, okay, well, it's about safety, so we're going to lose one dynamic player. I'm sorry. He could, punt the football. Okay, that's a lot safer, in my opinion, than having guys get a 55-yard head start running down the field looking to rip somebody's head off. And you just brought it up about the equipment and stuff. We're talking just football alone. I still say that's 90% of the issue going on right now. If you felt a football helmet recently in the last 5 years,
yep,
and that's like, it's absolutely the hardest plastic that money can buy, and it weighs about 8 ounces. The face masks are tiny. They're made of whatever, but they're all hard as hell. The shoulder pads are about a quarter of the size that we used to wear, and they're completely hard plastic and this and that. And then these guys are literally running at each other like it's a human cannonball with hard plastic hitting against another hard plastic. Guess what's going to give up? The human body is going to take the brunt of that.
Yep.
Are we by making player safety, are we hurting more players? In my opinion, with how fast the players can play the game right now, and how light the equipment is, and how fast the guys are. Wow. It's scary, man.
Yep. No question. It
is funny watching like the 90s games and when they come on television. It's straight shoulder pads. You look at everybody.
Oh, yeah.
I was laughing my butt off last week. Eddie George, they showed him winning the Heisman that year. And his shoulder pads, they look like Chris Spielman running around out there. His shoulder pads were enormous.
Yeah.
Keyshawn were enormous. All of our shoulder pads were enormous.
Yep.
Compared to what they are nowadays. And it's just funny how the game has changed.
Yep. It is. And again, those changes just, it seems to me anyway, are coming more quickly. What used to take a couple decades to evolve takes a couple of years now to change significantly.
Well, I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Your sport is probably the only sport there that nothing has changed. There'll be a rule change here and there, but physically, there's nothing that has changed in wrestling. Just some rules, but you're still going mano a mano.
Yeah.
You have a head. Are the shoes that much different? They're going to make that much difference. Is the headgear that much different?
No.
I mean it's very similar.
Try with rules changes to make it a little safer, but not. But yeah, you're right.
It hasn't changed. Baseball's changed. Football's changed. Soccer's changed. Everything has changed.
Yeah, the biggest changes really with wrestling came off of the mat with the weight loss protocols.
That's where you guys had trouble. That was your big time problems. I always wanted to ask this.
Yeah.
So when you have a tournament, are you weighing in one time? Or are you weighing in all 4 days?
Normally, you're weighing in each day. So like at NCAA's, for example, you're weighing in that first day at scratch weight. So if you're a 125-pounder, you're weighing in 2 hours. Well, actually, I think this year they moved it. I think that it's now 1 hour before the tournament. For previously, it was always 2 hours before the tournament, and you would weigh in at scratch. Now, you would weigh in the morning, so and then you would get a pound each day. So you would on Friday you'd have to weigh in, but you could weigh 126, and on Saturday, if you made it to Saturday, you could weigh.
But you are weighing in daily.
But you could weigh in the morning, right? If you're wrestling in the finals, you have a full day of, which is why some guys you'd see look significantly larger. Some guys were just cutting significant weight.
So they fixed that. They took that out of the game.
Saturday
night,
took that out. It would be an advantage. Did want to just touch on the NHL playoffs, because as bad as I feel as a Penguins fan, I will say, and I have a dear friend who is a diehard Maple Leafs fan, and God bless her.
57 years.
Had the we like to go back and forth and joke around during anytime the Penguins and the Maple Leafs play. We'll exchange. I have not even had the heart because. My God,
bad enough.
You talk about a fan base having its heart ripped out repeatedly, and this one though, right? This really did. This postseason felt like this was Toronto's postseason,
Absolutely.
right? At least their chance to run to the Eastern Finals.
Absolutely,
if nothing else. Whether or not you thought it was destiny that they're going to win the cup, there seemed to be no doubt that they were at least going to get to the next round, to the second round. One of the things that I've been reading a lot more about this than I necessarily wanted to. Do you know that the Toronto Maple Leafs have never played a game in June? They have never in their history played a game in June.
Holy crap.
And that remains intact. As they were eliminated very unexpectedly in Game 7 last night by the Canadiens. And that one had to be there's obviously a long history of anguish here for the Maple Leafs, and
you weren't
losing opportunities to clinch. Yes, this is because I've read this. Well, I'm getting this. This one was from. Let me just get it. I think it was The Athletic. Yeah, The Athletic. Let me just read the.
I saw one comment today. One thing today that blew my mind, and that is they just passed the Rangers, who didn't win a cup for however many years from World War II to 1994.
Yeah,
that was the longest drought between cups, and now that the Maple Geeks took it over.
Yeah, the numbers are truly astounding. With the
never played a game in June.
0-7 in elimination games. The whole history here is just remarkable. But so the Toronto Maple Leafs. This is directly from The Athletic. The Toronto Maple Leafs have never played a single game in the month of June ever. Think about that for a second. That's crazy, right? This was supposed to be their easiest path to the Final Four, and instead, they never held a lead after Game 4 in this series. Sure, they didn't have John Tavares for the series or Jake Muzzin in Game 7, but the talent was still tipped heavily in their favor in this series, and they couldn't get it done.
Yeah.
When they get back into the same division with Tampa and Boston next season, they will not have an easy path. This was their year, and they squandered it.
Wow.
And there's you go through the anguish, and I'm really not meaning to laugh, but this is comparable to what Red Sox fans and Cubs fans were going through, except I think it's even worse in this case because
the media up there is horrendous.
Well, yes, and it is a Canadian. For all of the success that the American teams are having, right? It is still an afterthought in the average American sports fans, right? This is everything in Canada.
Oh, yeah.
This is by far number one in Toronto sports fans' passions, right? No disrespect to the Blue Jays, but come on. Are you kidding?
Joe Carter, rotten hell.
But the anguish here for Toronto fans, and
it's unbelievable. It's brutal.
It is breathtaking, and to squander this year to the degree they did, and to do it to the Canadiens of all of the teams where the history. I truly do feel, and I can chuckle a little bit because again, I don't have a dog in the fight, but my God,
Jeffrey, who was the last?
My heart does break.
Who was the last Canadian
Toronto
team
fans
to win a Stanley Cup, and what year?
Well, it would have been the Canadiens, right? In
1993.
Go back okay.
That's unbelievable.
Say mid.
That's a hockey crazed country.
Oh yeah,
completely hockey crazed, top to bottom, left to right.
But poor Toronto. My God.
Poor Canada.
Well, poor Canada, but the Maple Leafs in particular. That is
maybe Matt
that
Sundin.
is brutal.
Yeah. Wendell Clark was one of my favorite players growing up, though. So I just got something to say here out loud.
Yep.
I'm literally seeing something I haven't seen in the year and a half, and they are putting the salt and pepper shakers out on the tables here.
Yep.
And I see over to the left they have set up the buffet for tonight at Quicker.
Yeah, they have.
First buffet since last year.
Life is good again.
The claw machine is on.
Baby.
If you want to go win a teddy bear, Booch. It is up and available, ready to go. There is squirt bottles everywhere to keep everybody clean and safe.
Yeah.
But just the salt and pepper shaker and the sugar on the table, that is something we had not seen in 14 or 15 months.
But the buffet, man.
The buffet is back.
Come on. Come and get your wings.
Did you see? I was reading an article the other day. Actually, it was really early this morning. I don't know when the article was written, but they're talking about how the restaurant industry, how completely destroyed they have gotten through COVID. And they're not they're not out because they are having such a hard time finding employees that, they can stay on unemployment and get collected extra $300. So almost every restaurant or small business, if you go to, there's help wanted signs everywhere.
Yeah.
But this guy was talking, and he goes, we're getting it from that end. We're not having the workers, so we really can't be 100% anyway because we can't service the people. And then the other side of the coin is that the food that he has to buy has gone up so ridiculously high. And this is the craziest thing I think I've heard since COVID has hit, that chicken wings are so expensive right now that they are going to have to – some restaurants are going to say they are market price because they're fluctuating so much money over a week or two, and you would be changing your menu. So it's like lobster and any kind of seafood at a high-end restaurant where you're paying market price for any kind of seafood. But that's how wings are going to be. This is one guy in Harrisburg saying this in an article.
No, I think
saying
right.
If I want to print a new menu every 2 weeks, because that's when all the prices are changing every 2 weeks. So the Lube still has their buffet at night, but it's a little more expensive. It's $19.99, but still the best wings in this damn town.
Yep.
If you're out and about looking for some place to eat tonight, come on by the Lube, man. All you can eat, bro.
God bless the Pirates, and at least we have the opportunity to go in person, in full, to Beaver Stadium and all of the other Penn State sporting events in the upcoming academic year.
Goon is a happy man.
Some good news there, and that obviously does include the tailgating, the whole shooting shebang, as they say. Goon is good to go here.
Now it is. Can't wait to get my donation letter in the mail now. We're going to donate
when we get there.
So what they did was the tickets from last year they're paid for, but then your donation, you could have got your ticket money back. But you can just let it roll over to this year, which I did. But then they keep the donation and have to redonate this year as well as buy parking passes and all. So it is what it is.
Yep.
But it's somewhere. It's a step forward. Is what we're doing. Like we're talking about the salt and pepper. It is a step forward. So looking forward to it, man. Can't friggin' wait.
Yep, it is. It is going to be fun to get back in there with fellow fans and Penn Staters and be able to actually enjoy the communal experience that is Penn State football and Penn State athletics. That is going to do it for today's show. We thank you for joining us, and we'll talk to you again on Thursday. Until then, be good and be safe.
The Spikes start the month of June with a 6:35 game against the Frederick Keys on Tuesday night. Enjoy $2 Tuesday at the ballpark. Not only are walking tacos $2 each, but we've also got $2 hot dogs, $2 popcorn, and $2 16-ounce Miller Lite and Coors Light wraps from 5:30 to 7:30. Plus, outfield bleacher seats are just $2 a piece. It's $2 Tuesday at 6:35 against the Keys. For tickets, call 814-272-1711 or buy and download at statecollegespikes.com.
Lion Country Kia is offering exceptional deals on your new Kia during Kia's Command the Season event.
We have a nice selection on the 2021 Kia Sportage with various options and prices as low as $26,800, saving you $3,000. Or if you demand big power and towing capacity, slip into one of the 2021 Kia Sorrentos available on our lot starting at $32,680.
Discover why Kia drivers throughout the area come to Lion Country Kia or visit online at lioncountrykia.com.
Quaker Steak and Lube is throwing open the garage doors and setting up the umbrellas. It's patio season. Come enjoy great food, drinks, and fun in the sun. There's always something happening at Quaker Steak and Lube, but we're really amping up our event calendars for our favorite time of year. Visit thelube.com to find out what's happening at your local lube this season. Lunch, happy hour, dinner, or late night, indoors or outside, at Quaker Steak and Lube, you'll always find big flavors, friendly faces, and lots of fun.
Hi, Johnny Broom here. If you're in the market for a new Hyundai or a pre-owned car, truck, van, or SUV, nobody beats a Blaze Alexander deal. But don't take my word for it.
Hey, Goon says tell him Johnny sent you.
Hey, tell him Johnny sent ya.
Tell him Johnny sent you.
Wait. Tell him Juan or tell him Johnny sent you?
Tell him Johnny sent you.
Here at Bill Pickles Tap Room, we say,
Tell him Johnny sent you.
And remember,